here. Let's get all right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to very, very special edition. Actually, this is episode 38 of our TNUSA Wrestling Power Hour podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hatcher, state chairman. And on the road in a car, my co-host, Kenya Sloan. Tell you what, don't ever doubt her commitment to this this podcast right here. She's on hotspot, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. This isn't quite as impressive as you joining from Thailand. I'm stuck in the car regardless. So
yeah, you're right. Well, you know what? I'm going to try it from Europe. I'm going to try it from Europe here in about 2-3 weeks. So yeah. So we have one of our special guests here, right here in the background. I'm going to bring him front and center here pretty soon. But Coleman Scott, I think that I don't even know if we need to intro this guy. Everybody knows this dude. Might have record-setting numbers on this one, Kenya.
I know.
So Olympic bronze medalist, Division I college coach for a while, national champion. Shoot, I don't know. We ain't got enough time to talk about all Coleman's accomplishments in life and in the sport of wrestling. So we're just super, super fortunate. But yeah, being that this is we got Olympic wrestling coming up really, really quick here in the next couple of days, we figured we'd have a couple people on that have ties to Olympic wrestling. Obviously, Coleman, 2012 Olympic bronze medalist. And then, of course, we have Jody Strittmatter coming in later, who's coaching one of our Olympians this year, Spencer Lee. So, or actually, it was his club coach. So that's our guest for today. So we're really looking forward to it. But I tell you what, I don't think I'm not going to say much at all. I think Kenya's got some questions, but Coleman Scott has the story. And but we're ready just to do a deep dive into his career. So you had something to say?
Well, I was going to say before we dive in, you guys could both help because I'm Coach Scott. Have you done your session for camp already?
Yeah, I did one of them. Got another one coming up here shortly. So
okay, well, tell us a little bit about what's going on over at Young Guns Nashville camp. Are they all they make it out? Are they all that Hatch says that they are? They're that great?
Oh yeah, they're rocking and rolling. You know, have Jody's down and Eric Juergens and doing a great, really 1 week camp here. Just looking at the schedule they have and stuff. And Young Guns to me is probably, it's one of the premier clubs in the country. Now that they've got multiple places and they're producing at a very high level, which is part of it. But the other part is the people behind it are very good and they're doing it for the right reasons. They're coaching these kids and not just teaching them to win matches, but teaching them to be great humans, very respectful, clean, and then they represent themselves in the club very, very at a high level. And that's probably what I admire most about what Young Guns is doing nationwide. It's changing lives, not just winning wrestling matches.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you, Kenya, for that plug there. Dude, I totally forgot. I was just going to talk some Olympics with Coleman, and man, I tell you what, always looking out for me, Kenya.
Hey, well, that's what you do for me, so we do it well.
There we go. Love
That's awesome to hear. So, how was you did one session already at the camp?
Yep.
What was that session like? What type of stuff did you guys work on?
Yeah, we did a little bit of motion, a little bit of moving our feet, getting our opponent to move their feet, and then a couple little tacks, and then some elbow control stuff. So, stayed up on our feet this morning, and we're going to move. I'll do some top wrestling, which is really my favorite position in collegiate was top. So get into claw ride and some leg ride, stuff like that. So, I think it's in collegiate style. Top wrestling is undervalued or under whatever you want to call it. But in Pennsylvania, growing up there, that's what you were. You were tough on top, average on your feet, tough on top. Yeah. And it's equalizer in collegiate wrestling. I put a lot of time in there. And I think that it's sort of the boring part. Top bottom isn't as exciting or cool or fun as our feet. So people forget about it. And, but I think it's an art. I think of riding somebody and turning somebody's an art, and so we're going to spend some time there this afternoon.
Yeah. I feel like I know the answer to this question based off of the amount of passion that you just talked about top wrestling. But if you had to pick a favorite style, do you think that you could?
It probably is. It's probably freestyle, to be honest with you. Even though I do.
Good answer. I was preparing myself.
But freestyle, I think that folk style is more of a controlled style. Right. Freestyle is an execution of skill. And if you can't execute skill at a very high level, you can't win at a high level. So I think that there is a different art to it. Like I was telling the kids earlier today, like I struggled with, getting into a high level attack against the best in the world, right? It wasn't finishing, it was getting to the leg. And you got to concentrate. So make everything very simple. How do you concentrate and move that to move my hands, move my feet, make him move his hands, move his feet, and then I can get into my leg. But there's an art to it, right? And I believe that you grow each and every year if you're fully engrossed into the sport, and your why changes throughout your career, and that helps you progress into a different level. And freestyle is, I mean, it's who doesn't like traveling the world? For 8 years, I traveled the world and, was flying 100,000 miles a year and been to 40 countries. And I mean, who doesn't like doing that stuff, right? Just for the sport of wrestling. So it's taken me all over.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about like that portion of your career, specifically when you were getting to travel? Like, what are some of the, maybe was your favorite country that you got to travel and compete to? Like outside of the tournament, just your favorite place that you went?
I think that it opened my eyes. I didn't get my passport till I was in college. So 2006, I made the junior world team.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's when I first got my passport was 06. We were, of course, I was all excited, and then I found out Worlds were in Guatemala, so I wasn't that excited. I didn't go overseas. I just flew south. It was my first trip sort of out of the country, and it sort of just spurred interest in. I thoroughly enjoy traveling and sort of engrossing myself in somebody else's culture, food, what they do, be a local, right? And it's a very cool thing, but you got to be, it's sort of, and I know Mike travels a bunch, but you got to sort of go with the flow, right? I can never be very controlled over there because we always say it's hurry up and wait, right? When you're at this stuff. And but you grow to love and like appreciate just the different cultures, the different way people were raised, the different food, and all that stuff. And then it becomes sort of addictive, right? I want to, I'm talking to my wife today about maybe just booking some tickets to Paris because I wasn't going to go. I was going, and then we might now go for a couple of days just to watch the freestyle. And so stuff like that. Like I'm very spontaneous in that sense that, we love travel, right? My wife and I do love traveling. You asked favorite country. I don't know. Everything I've been to is for wrestling or around wrestling. I've only been on maybe one trip ever in my honeymoon. That was not that was not a wrestling trip.
That wouldn't have been a very good honeymoon. Like, hey, honey, we got a camp over in Poland this week. You want to just come over and we'll celebrate?
That's right. Right now, I would say I'll just narrow it down to a city. I love Budapest, Hungary.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, very pretty. It's Budapest, two cities split by the Danube River. It's clean, it's westernized. The food's phenomenal. You can get around. So I really did. I really enjoyed Budapest. Italy's probably as a country as a whole my favorite. Rome, unbelievable history. Sicily, just everything about it. You're on island time. I mean, it's literally like the best food ever. And you're sitting there. I loved Sicily. Very low key. And of course, wrestling wise though, it's really cool to go wrestle in Iran. Right, being there 5 or 6 times. World Cup in 2013, maybe 2011. I don't know, somewhere around there. And the place is just jam packed and like people falling over the bleacher. I mean, it was just it's phenomenal to wrestle in Tehran. That's probably my favorite place to wrestle.
Wow. Now, because I've heard that from multiple people. Yeah. What is it like as far as like how? I mean, obviously there's political tensions between. But I mean, as far as like the wrestling, I heard that y'all are treated like almost like rock stars.
Oh yeah. Like you, everywhere you go. I mean, the general people, and they'll tell you like, hey, that's just government. That's not us. Like we don't have that hatred towards Americans and this and that. But they really appreciate high level wrestling, and that's so cool to see. They appreciated it. Doesn't matter who we were, but if you could wrestle well, they were cheering for you, taking pictures, ripping your shirts off. I mean, it's nutty, but they really appreciate just good high level athletics, and that's cool to see. You don't see that everywhere, right? There's no fire codes there. They're filling up the stadium. They're sitting in the ways. They're falling over. It's crazy. Fights in the stand, like stuff. It's nuts, but it's just so different than the U.S.
I tell you what, they're
Yeah.
fans, like they're fans at those world level.
Oh, yeah.
Tournaments.
They got
It's
the horns
crazy. They
and
got the horns and just
yeah.
constantly. It's
constant.
awesome.
It's
awesome.
constant.
Constantly cheering.
Yeah,
It's
so
crazy.
that's cool for me to see. I love that place.
Yeah. People, you've got my gears turning as you talk about like experiencing like different cultures and how different it is when you get to travel. And I've heard people talk about wrestling. Well, outside of wrestling, people talk about like, you know, maybe music is a universal language, right? Like we don't have to, or same with dance. But a lot of people who are like have made it and got to wrestle overseas and in different cultures, they kind of say the same is true about wrestling. Like no matter what your differences are, no matter if we speak the same language, like we've got this thing that I automatically understand you and you understand me and we're here for the same reason. Can you talk to me about like the reality of that?
I think it's a respect thing, right? Like whoever does this sport at any level, I'm just talking any level from 6 years old on, I don't care. We're not talking about how good you are, but to like withstand to go through what we do as wrestlers, like how the hell do you not respect that person? I don't care what your religion is, what your race is, what's your background, your financial. I have no care, because if you can withstand this, you're a good person in my mind, right? Like that's the way I look at it. It teaches you so much. Like I've said, my boys will wrestle, not and if they're good, I don't care. But it teaches them discipline. It teaches them just how to get hit in the face, really get beat up and lose a wrestling match. And you're the only one out there. And then how do you respond? Like it teaches you so much. So when we go overseas and we see these people, like there's a sign of respect immediately, right? I know if you're here, you've been through the same thing that I have, and it was miserable at times. It's good at times. And I respect the hell out of you for it. And so it just sort of puts that barrier down, right? We've seen all the pictures with Iran and US. I mean, I talk to those guys every time I see them, as much as we can, right? They don't speak any English, usually they're one of the countries that aren't learning English in their elementary school. So, but it is a big, but I've got a bunch of, I traded with the dude I used to wrestle, Ismail Porjabor, singlets with him and knickknacks and, stuff like that. So, so, I mean, it's just and again, we don't ask about what their religion is, how much money, like, we don't care about that. Right. Like, hey, dude, you're just a person, you're doing the same thing I am. We're just sort of crazy in the sense that this is what we do. We wrestle and we travel the world,
That's
it brings you together. It brings you together, commonality.
I can agree. I remember being young, probably one of my first times ever going to a camp at the OTC, and I was in the sauna with Clarissa Chun, and we were talking about wrestling in life, and we got like super deep into the conversation. And I said something along the lines of like, at the end of the day, like, I know it's just a sport. And she stopped me in my tracks and she said, it's far more. And she started talking about her Olympic experience and how like, yes, it's a sport, but it's also in a way this thing that's like binding and bonding, and it breaks barriers and it brings peace. And like, especially with like the Olympics, like being among us now, it's like, no matter what's going on in what country or where you're from, like we're all here to watch the same thing, and we're all here to like support our people and have respect for every other person in the game. And in a way, it's like, it's something that just like makes us all a little bit more human and reminds us of the fact that we're all human. And it's like, we're the same, right? And so
I say, just before you finish it, I always say everybody should experience the Olympic Games one time in person. And I don't care what sport you go watch. Go watch the speed walking, I don't care. But if you can say what you just said, like how it brings people together from countries, we lost her.
Yeah. That's keep going.
You should definitely be into like just wanting to go experience and see how whatever that patch is you got on that USA. Like, I don't care where you're from, but you're cheering for us. Like, we're together.
Yeah.
I
was just talking to some people about that at my meeting today, just telling the Olympics. I've been to 4 of them. I've never seen that as a competitor, but as a fan and whatever, knowing friends that competed. And it's crazy because you'll go and I mean, like you said, just go to whatever sport. I mean, I know we just like randomly bought handball tickets.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sure.
But then, I was randomly sitting in the hotel lobby in London at our hotel, just watching wrestling with an Iranian.
Yeah.
Nice guy, great guy. And it was awesome. It's just a really cool experience.
It is. Sorry, Kenya, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't know. I know where Kenya's going in. This is her segue moment, though. Is that right? You're going in to ask
we
Coleman.
know each other.
Go ask him about his Olympic experience. And here's the thing, Kenya. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the one thing. You being such a youngster, and probably not, you know, I mean, when he was coming through and everything, but his like whole qualification story and everything, like the whole like leading up to making the Olympic team to everything was a really, really, really unique story. So it's awesome. So I'm going to let Coleman just go ahead and just kind of go with that, and then he'll play it into his Olympic experience, and that'd be good.
Yeah, you know, it was.
Before you start,
Yeah.
Hatch, I think I'm backstage. I think you guys can see me, but the live stream cannot.
What's that?
It's telling me I'm backstage. Okay, it says you're only the host can see you. You're backstage.
Oh no, you're good. You're in.
Oh, okay. Let's go for it. All right, take the stage.
You're on. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely a different, unique situation. So we weren't qualified. The country wasn't qualified for the Olympics yet, and the trials were in April in Iowa City. So Sean Bunch had to go to China. I think he was already gone actually when the trials happened. It was the next weekend. So he was already gone. So he was in there trying to qualify the weight. So he was sitting out of the tournament. Reese was there, but he was hurt, and he was the previous world team member, so he had the right to sit out of the tournament. So I knew going into the trials that I had to win, and just to make myself eligible for a wrestle off. What the wrestle off was, where we had no clue. It was just like, hey, you got to win this tournament just to have a wrestle off with Sean and Reese. How that will work, where it will be, we have no clue, but just go win the thing, right? And ended up going to the trials, wrestled well. Beat, I think I had Logan Stieber in the finals, 2 out of 3. So I beat him twice. And then I remember the next day they went into a closed session with USA Wrestling team leaders and then our coaches. So John and Kenny and Eric on my side, then Reese's coaches, it would have been Lou and Tim Flynn and all those, the other camp, they had to figure it out, right? What was going to happen. And of course they said that, I was supposed to go, actually I flew to that next weekend because there was one last chance qualifier in Finland. So I flew to New York City just in case Sean didn't qualify. And I was going to wrestle Reese, a 1-match wrestle off that Friday or Saturday, and fly to Finland for the last chance qualifier. So we flew to New York, woke up at 6 a.m. or whatever it was to watch Sean wrestle the true third match in China. He ends up winning, so they just rebooked me back home. And it's because we were qualified then. And what that triggered was we figured they do the wrestle off at the Beat the Streets in Times Square. It was outside, early June. So when I came back to Stillwater, and then I actually went to, in May, we wrestled World Cup in Baku. So I spent like 2 or 3 weeks in Baku preparation. I wanted to compete every month. So April, May, and then June. So John and myself and Team USA all went over there. And I was the only one. They were the Olympic team and then me, right? Wow. And I fought to go. Like I was like, I want to go. And they're like, no, everybody else, Sean and Reese were the only, and they were like, no, I'm not going. They didn't want to go. And I fought. I was like, I'm going. And it sort of was really one of my times of just sort of figuring things out. I was wrestling really well, but beat the Russian, the Bogomolov, beat the Iranian, Ismail Porjabor, and then a couple other guys. It was Azerbaijani, but it was not Asgarov. But had a really good tournament, went 5-0, won the World Cup. So it was really propelled me into that wrestle off early June. And then it was I had beat Reese 1 match at 1:00, and then Sean 2 or 3 at 7 p.m. or whatever it was that night. And outside Times Square, I think had 60 or 65 people there. My family and friends came up.
That was a pretty cool event.
Very unique.
Cool, yeah.
Very unique. It was different because it was an exhibition for everybody else. And so there was light. They're going to the baseball game the day before. And I was just like, no, this is I'm going to make the Olympic team. You guys are like, half-ass cutting weight. You got a couple kilos, and I'm making scratch. I'm hurting. And so it was a different mindset for me, Reese, and Sean. Like we were there to do where the rest of the team and all the other. It was an exhibition. It's to raise money, the gala, right. All that stuff for a great organization, right? Mm-hmm. So it was really it was a cool experience. It's just my little camp was there. I mean, Kendall and Kenny and John and Zach. Espo and Ethan, Kyle, and Obi, and then it was sort of all family and friends. And that led me into, I knew, again, if I wanted to be an Olympic champ, I had to be an Olympian first, right? So you can't overlook that step of the process. And so did it there, and then sort of just geared up for the games in London. And, a couple months later, went to, at the end of July, we flew over to opening ceremonies and everything. And, I remember going through it, and it was very, everything was just normal to me at that point. And it really came to a head, walking out for my first match. I realized, oh shit, I'm like, I'm at the Olympic Games.
I'm at the Olympic
Motion. And for 3 weeks I was there, nothing. It was like, oh, I'm practicing, I'm great. I'm in a great space. Then it was like, I went like deer in headlights, didn't do anything, couldn't shoot. And I never thought that would happen to me, right? It ended up luckily getting through the match, 2 clinches, and came back and I wrestled better the next couple matches, and ended up losing in the semis, And I remember going back to the hotel room because it was 1-day tournament then. So you wrestled, 20-minute break in between each match, and then you had a couple hours between the semis and the third place match. And I just remember thinking, going back, I was devastated. I never had the thought process of what am I going to do if I lose? Like, I got to get just a medal. I was always thinking gold medal or bust.
Yeah.
And Jim Ravenak, who was Gator Club sponsor and USA Wrestling president at the time, came up to me in the room, and I was just a grown man crying in the room. Like, I don't know what I got to do. It's done. I can't be a champ. I don't know what to do. And he grabbed me, and he just sort of made me realize, hey, you got 97 people that flew over here to see you, your family and friends, 97 of them. You can either pick your head up and go win this, because leaving here with a medal is going to mean more to you and them than you'll ever imagine right now. I know it's not, but you got to change it now, or you're going to walk away with nothing, right? Because it's either a medal or you get a handshake and a cool singlet, right? And that's it. And so it really just came to fruition, and wrestled well and scored late. And like I said, that wasn't, I said earlier, like your why changes. Like, that medal wasn't for me. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a gold medalist, right? But I knew everybody else that had poured their life or stopped their life so I could go do this crazy thing of wrestling. That's who it was for, right? Had a daughter that I missed her birthday, making the team. Her first birthday, I wasn't even in town. She wasn't there at the games. My mother-in-law stayed back and watched her. So it's for all those little things that people don't see that go into, again, me being selfish and doing this crazy thing of I'm gonna win an Olympic medal. There's only 6 every 4 years, and I'm going to be one of them, right? That's a crazy thought to have, but my family stuck by my side. My in-laws, who never saw wrestling until they met me, and they were just bought 100%. And so it's cool. That's why you do those things. It wasn't for me; it was for them.
Oh, that's such a cool perspective. Yeah. Honestly, that's amazing.
It's such a cool perspective, and I would actually love for you to almost expand on it. Like, for maybe if we have some wrestlers who are listening who hasn't found their self in the spot where they didn't make it where they wanted, and now they're stuck and they've got to choose either pick my head up and keep wrestling, like stay in this tournament, or give up on myself now. Like, how, like, you told us your reason and your why, but like, what type of advice would you give to a wrestler who's just like, I don't know how to change my mind, so I keep going?
Well, I think you can't look at yourself like if you only do it for yourself, you always feel empty at some point, right? You're gonna get old, you're gonna not be able to do it. So if you don't continue to like evaluate, like, yes, I wrestled because I loved it, but I also wrestled because and at that point, like I went back and wanted to win that match because my wife was here, and we've got a 1-year-old at home, and they pretty much stopped their life for the last really 2 years, 3 years to let me do this thing. They're working full time. I'm training. I'm barely making any money. My parents toted me around the country, my whole life, right? And spent all their money to make sure I had not become good, but had the opportunity to become good. It was on me to become good, but I had the opportunity. They didn't hinder anything. And so when you reflect on it, that's why you do these things. Like, man, that joy that I brought them in those couple moments, like, that's all I wanted, was just to show that. And I thanked them enough, told them I loved them, but like, hey, I didn't do this for me. This is for you guys. Right. Like, and you have to step back and really just evaluate why you do what you do. Right. Like, you don't ever want to be miserable all the time. right? And I believe if you do it for yourself, I do this because I'm going to win. I'm going to be the best. I think that you'll feel empty at the end of the day. And I feel that there's a time where you won't know what to do because it's been so self-absorbed. Whereas now, like, I want to coach and run camps and give back and help my son's football team. And it's not because I want to do it. It's now it's their turn. I want to make sure he has the same opportunity that I had, right? I hope one day he'll be doing something at a high level and say, Dad, this is for you, right? And you don't have to say it, just do it by your actions. And that's the cool thing, right? And I think I've matured a lot and came to realization that, there is a time in wrestling where you go, I'm going to win this. This is for me, right? I put all my work into it, right? You forget that, man, I had coaches. I was being a soldier for the last 20 years and listening to my coaches and my parents and, making good grades. And they're taking me to practice every morning, every evening. They're picking me up. I mean, I do it now. I got 3 kids. My wife's in the car more than we're at home sometimes, some weeks, right? That's bebopping around. So, and that's all it is. It's about opportunity for our kids. And, my parents gave it to me, and my wife was able to work and support us while I was training. And like, those are the things, that's why you do it. It's not for me. It was for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's such awesome perspective. I mean, I feel like Hatch and I try and tell, kids and listeners all the time how important it is to be grateful, but to hear from somebody like you and to know that that's like not only an important part, but maybe in some instances, like that's what gets you to where you are. Like that's what pushes you through to be able to know you're doing it for more than just yourself. Like, I really, really hope those of you that are listening are catching on to this little bit of gold here. Thanks, Coach, for sharing all this.
I think if you have something else that's your why, it is easier to take that next step, to take that, go get a takedown in the last second, to hey, you ain't tired, dude. And I think that's when you have that out there where, hey, I'm going to do this for my family. I need bread on the table. Like, that's easier to go do that. And when it's always, oh, I'm tired. Well, no, you aren't. You're telling yourself you are, right? You're listening to her, not talking. Like, there's just, to do it for somebody else is easier.
Yeah,
sure.
I love it. So I love it.
Awesome. I love it.
He's got to go teach a session here before long, Kenya. So we're going to make the swap right here. What's that? Okay. You got one more question for him?
He's got to head out now.
Yeah, he's going to be teaching here soon. I want to give him a little time to get ready. But you got one more question for him?
I have one more. That was really important.
Okay.
Selfishly, I need the answer to this question because we got to dive into your competitive career and your athletic career, but there's this reality that you've that as a part of you that's very important. It's fueled the career that you're doing now, and that's that you're an amazing freaking coach, at the highest level. So normally we like to ask we have mostly wrestlers on here, athletes. We like to ask them what advice they would give to someone who wants to be in their shoes. But I mean, now someone from a coach's perspective, what advice would you give to other coaches who want to be good at what they're doing and build great athletes and have good relationships with them and be able to equip them to have everything they need to go as far as you went?
Put the athlete first, right? Build a relationship. People that love you will work harder for you and make the right decision, right? Remember, the tough decision is the right decision. And when you have real talks with athletes, not fake, you over communicate almost, and build a relationship that goes beyond wrestling, right? Know about their life, their girlfriends, if they're getting married, their family stuff. That way you go to a deeper level. Like I always tell them, yes, I want to be there when you win your first national title, but I also want to be there when you have your first child. And I want to be at your wedding. I want to do that stuff as well. So we're not surface level. We're deep diving. If there's issues, come talk. And then once you build that trust in that relationship, man, the sky's just, it's limitless of what you can do with those kids, right? That's how you develop. You don't develop by running them through their cattle and running them in and out and being done and saying, hey, see you later, 4 years. Okay, sounds good, man. Right. You build a very deep relationship where it just goes on for generations. And man, they'll run through a brick wall. We always say, man, I had a guy would run through a brick wall for me. Well, it's real. It's real, man. He trusts me. And that's what you want, trust. But it has to go both ways. You can't, if he's going to trust me, I've got to trust him, right? And I've got to show the example, not just talk about it, be about it, right? If I say these are our team roles, but this is what you don't do, right? Don't pot calling the kettle black, right? You got to be very true to who you are. And I tell the guys, I was in college, a while ago, and I made dumb decisions, just
Right.
like you're doing right now. I'm not going to sit here and yell at you, but I'm telling you from experience, this is what happens when you do this, right? And that's the way I speak to them a lot, just because I'm not going to sit here and lie that I didn't go do this or I didn't do that. I'm just this person that was just a book, studied and wrestled. Wasn't me, right? And I'm very truthful with them, being truthful, over communicating, and building a trusting, lasting relationship, and then you'll get a lot more out of it. Then worry about the wrestling after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think that's great advice.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Do you have anything for Coleman Scott before we let him run to a session, Hinge?
So, dude, anybody that I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen him teach technique, I've seen a lot of people in my years, and I'll tell you what, I was bummed I missed a little bit of it this morning. Can't wait to see it this afternoon. Plus, he's just great. He's a great person. Never known. Iowa Hawkeye, Oklahoma State Cowboy. Yeah, but I've known him for a while. He's great, man. I'm telling you what, you talk about a knockout human being, man. He's a man. So we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. You guys are doing great things.
Absolutely.
It's such a joy to learn from you. So thank you so much.
Yep, always.
All right. Well, we're going to get him out. We'll have our next guest in here, and he's going to teach him wrestling. My man, appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, just
nice to meet you.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, viewers, and future viewers, when they start coming in here in a bit, I'm in a office in the TOA Center in Franklin, Tennessee. This was the quietest spot we can get. So if you hear some balls bouncing over here, there's a basketball camp going on here. Of course, we got our Young Guns camp here. We got a bunch of kids running in here having lunch. Kenny's on the road right now, driving on the hot spot. So, hey, listen, listen, we're not in Joe Rogan's studio. By all means, we are making this happen. We got when you got two really. Actually, you know what? We could have probably had a lot of podcasts this week, but it's been just trying to put together a time when we can get people together and do it. It's we had to make us best. So we're here on the lunch break. Just like I said, just giving a heads up there, ladies and gentlemen, about the facility we have going on here in case you hear some basketballs bouncing. So without further ado, we got another one right here. So actually here, I'm going to change. Let me do this. This is Kenya Sloan, Jody Strittmatter. Kenya Sloan, she is my co-host and just awesome person in general. I'm not going to, I always say how awesome she is every week. So no use doing that. Everybody knows how great she is. but no. So Jody Strittmatter, Kenya, and the rest of you obviously needs no introduction either. He's the founder, director, head coach of the Young Guns wrestling program, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of his affiliate sites here in Nashville, Tennessee, and very, very, very proud not only to be able to represent his brand that he's done such a outstanding job of solidifying over the last 20 years, right? 20,
just finished 21
now. But also just really proud to call him a good friend at this time, friend before, but now obviously our friendship the last couple of years even got to another level. So talk about great people in our sport. It don't get any better than this guy. So so that's that. So there's the introduction there, Kenya, to you.
Perfect.
I got two rock stars here on the podcast with me, and I'm just kind of
whatever. You're killing it. Thank you so much.
Collab. But for those of you guys don't know, like I said, what Jody's done at Young Guns is incredibly impressive. And we'll do a little dive into, I guess, people. He's probably his most famous athlete. But over the years, I just told him, give me 5 to 10 kids that came to your club, that people would know, like right off the head, and it's just like, so the likes of Vincent Joseph, who's multiple-time national champ, Michael Kemmerer, who did clinics with us here, 5-time All-American, Jason Nall, 3-time national champ. Those guys, people know about them as far as their college accolades already. All came through the Young Guns program, and we have to spend the whole podcast going through the amount of people he had. But the current guys right now that obviously the names are really hot. Melvin Miller, he was just telling me about his year that he's had so far. Just capped it off with another Fargo title here last month, or this past month, I guess now. Jax Forrest, I mean, that name goes without saying. And of course, Bo Bassett, who's probably the hottest name in high school wrestling right now, all going through the Young Guns program. And then, of course, the one that we'll get into a little bit later, the one and only Spencer Lee. So, so we're looking at Spencer Lee's here, coach here. You know who that is, Kenya? You ever heard him?
A few times. I've heard his name.
Yeah, a few times. So we got the Lee shirt going on. So,
yes, nice.
Yeah. So, and the thing is we have to bring this stuff up because Jody would really probably never even bring it up. That's the type of, you talk about humble, the whole level of humble. Me, I'd be saying, I'd be wearing t-shirts.
Would they be like, hello, my name is like, by the way.
I'd be wearing a t-shirt, with all the list of people, shoot, most people would. Why not? But he's pretty true to himself, though. But Kenya's got some questions here.
Sure.
And
let's
we can
go.
kind of, and she's, we'll get her involved. She's on the road right now. Actually.
I see that.
Yeah. That's commitment right there, man.
You got to get the job done no matter what. I love that.
Hey, Hatch told me who was joining us, and at first I was like devastated because I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'll be able to join. And I was just like, well, wait, maybe this is something I don't think I want to miss right now. There's been a few that have been easier to skip out on, but I'm so grateful that you're joining us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I figured we could lead with I hope you're a storyteller because I'm getting ready to ask for a super long story. 21 years is how long you've been. It was 21 years how long it's been since you started the Young Guns Wrestling Club. Is that what you said? Could you walk us through the journey? We've got people all the time who start. I started a wrestling club this year, right? So people do it all the time everywhere.
Girls only.
Yeah, yours only in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And so it's just crazy to think that someone who loves this sport and wants to help coach and wants to coach kids. Sorry, my mom's missing my exit over here. I'm trying to not make this sound and we'll do something like, hey, I'll start a wrestling club, right? And no one in their wildest dreams imagines that it will ever turn into something like what you've created. So can you just tell us a little bit about how this started? Where was the vision? When did it change to what it is now? Just give us 21 years.
Okay. Yeah.
2 minutes.
So I graduated from the University of Iowa. And my goal was always to go to medical school at University of Iowa and keep wrestling freestyle. I was doing that. I had just graduated and I was wrestling in my first year of freestyle, and I was having some success. I made the U.S. Open finals, and actually I beat a world champ in the semifinals to make it there. And then I lost in the finals, and so I was starting to have success. And but it just wasn't like it is today. It wasn't supported and financially and stuff like that. So it was tough to pay your bills even back then.
Right.
So it was very, very different. And so Eric Juergens was my roommate. And there was now, like you said, there's clubs everywhere. Back then, clubs didn't exist, or if they did, they were so minimum. I never heard of a club. So Eric Juergens came to me and said, hey, you want to start a wrestling club? I'd been offered this job in Michigan, starting a wrestling club. And so I was like, no, I this is my goals. These are my dreams. I'm doing well right now. And he's my roommate. And then the next day he'd ask me. And the next day he'd ask me. And he's one of my best friends. Yeah. And so one day I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go. So we packed up our trucks and we moved everything up to Michigan. And we didn't know a single person. And the very first day we had 10 kids in the club, and it was a struggle at first. Yeah. But it just kept growing and growing, within a month, we had 20, and then in a couple months we had 40, and it just kept growing. And it's kind of crazy. In that very first month, there was only 10 kids. There was a future NCAA champion. So it's crazy.
Right. Wow.
That
gave me chills. That gave me chills.
Yeah.
The amount that you give to just what's in front of you, you're just showing up trying to help a kid get better at wrestling, and you never know. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so kids like that, they just had me hooked. They were paying attention, they were asking questions, they were all in. And again, I just had a little bit of maybe influence on his career, because then 1 year into it, I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm not going back to Iowa. I'm not going to medical school. I'm going to coach. This is what I want to do.
It got you.
But I don't want to do it in Michigan. I want to move back home, and it was nothing I just wanted to be home where my family was. I was like, I love this wrestling club, but I'm going to move back home. So we were probably 3 months into it. And me and Eric were like,
man, if we're going to keep doing this, we got to have a name for it. There was no wrestling clubs back then. So it's just called a wrestling club. You know, we were going to go to club practice.
The wrestling club.
Yeah. So then we're sitting at dinner and we're like throwing around names, and it was like the Cobra Wrestling Club, and then it was something with like the Hawkeyes because me and Eric went to Iowa. And then I think it went to like Lethal Weapons because he was really big into hunting. And then it went to Young Guns, and it stuck. And here we are 21 years later.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's kind of how it evolved, though. Or I should say how it started.
Yeah. So then what, if you could like narrow it down to like a few things that you were feeling or experiencing, like what made you, that's like a hard turn from like med school, I'm going to be a doctor, to no, I'm going to be a wrestling coach. Like what types of things were you feeling? And like, how did you know, like, I'm good at this, I want to do this, like, this is what my career is going to be? Like, what made you make that decision?
Yeah, it just felt good. You know, it felt good to help kids. It really, really feels good whenever you see a kid like believe in themselves and progress. And so whenever I started coaching, it was just like, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
That's so crazy. It's crazy that you say with such confidence. And I think so many people, hopefully some of them are watching, can relate to that. Like as a coach, none of us really are like, when you're 6 years old, someone's like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? No one's like, I want to be a wrestling coach. Right. But
yeah, right. Yep.
But you get into it, and some people say because the sport is so amazing, but like exactly like how you're saying, yes, everyone watching this agrees that sport of wrestling is amazing, but there's something about being able to like give a part of yourself to someone else and just see what they can do with it. Yeah. And it sounds like that's kind of what you've fallen in love with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that, like, to my, like, you know, like the most that you can believe something is like, I believe young kids need positive role models, and you know, it's like Mo Bassett to look up to. He is such an amazing person. He's an amazing wrestler, and having like kids like that helps him anyway. But obviously you see a lot of bad in the world, but man, with wrestling, you see so much good. And so I just love being around that mentality all the time.
Yeah. You might have been around. Were you in the room when we were doing Coleman Scott's interview?
I was not. No, I was not.
Okay, well then good. Pretend like this was the question I asked him, but you didn't know that now. So I'm gonna pretend like it's special for you.
No, I was in the back holding room. I was in the holding room.
Okay, good. If you could give us like some do's and don'ts, like what as a coach, oftentimes on our show we like to ask like our athletes that come on, you know, maybe you just want a state championship, like what advice would you give to the kid who wants to win a state championship, be where you are? So you being just obviously a very successful coach, not just like on the club side, but just on an individual and the athletes that you've been able to coach and where they've gone, like you're good at this. We all know that. So could you tell us, like, share a little bit of the, you know, the secret sauce, like what makes a great coach, and then what types of things, like as someone who wants to be a good coach, should we stay away from?
Yeah, I think it's so easy. It's all about the kids. Like it's that simple. It's all about the kids. And I don't care if I have to pick up toilet paper off the floor, mop the mat, serve lunch. Like it's all about the kids and whatever you have to do to help the kids. It's nothing magical. It's truly like just anything you can do to help the kids. That could be on the mat or off the mat with their struggles. I think it's so simple.
Yeah, that's very, very similar to the advice that we've gotten right before you came on too. And it's just kind of like, especially you saying how, you know, whether it's on the mat or off the mat, like do what you have to do. Yep. And it's just like, I'm sure there's plenty of qualified people out there who could teach someone how to, you know, maybe take a high crotch or headed side single, right? But like, it's becoming clear, Hatch, I feel like you could probably agree that what makes the difference between a good coach and a great coach is, like, we're seeing people like yourself who are just like, no, I'm just going to show up for this human and give them what they need and let them hopefully build this trust in this relationship and see where it goes. Yeah. So it's so cool to like hear the same exact advice.
Yeah, I do camps all summer long. So I get to see kids from all over the country. But I also continue learning from other coaches. And it's so awesome. And it's so easy to see the coaches like that genuinely like want to put their heart into the kids. And then some, maybe they're there and, you know, like they're checking their phone. They're always on their phone. They're doing different things. Like, but the coaches that are just in the moment and they want to help kids more than anything in the world. And you see that, and you see it in the results as they're, in the coaching legacy.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So
Yeah.
here's the question I have. Like, you guys started obviously with 10 kids.
Yeah.
And then, so you did have a future NCAA champ out of that one.
Yeah.
Okay, with Cam Simas, right?
Yep.
Cam Simas there. What was it like the first time when he got to the national tournament, and all of a sudden, and that now you've had constant, I mean, not that it's just kind of old, whatever it still excites you.
Oh yeah.
But that first time, what was that like?
Yeah, it was incredible. And again, you're just proud of him and the family. It was, wrestling, it's a family thing. It's not just that one individual. So, yeah, I mean, he's such a good person again off the mat. And that's what makes you proud whenever you see them like doing it right. And now he's doing that as a coach. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's full circle now. He's coaching.
Oh, absolutely.
That means I'm getting old.
Yeah. And then, but now, okay, so now spinning off that a little bit, you've had so many guys transition from, beginning high school. Let's just call it beginning high school kids, or maybe as a youngster. But then when they start getting like national level good, is there a time when you're like, okay, this kid's getting there. He's getting really good.
Oh yeah,
How to tell that now?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the cool thing is they all do it differently. Mm-hmm. Like some do it early, mm-hmm. And then like Max Mirren was in here this week. He never placed at the youth state tournament.
Oh wow!
The first time he placed was his freshman year of high school. And he got 5th. Then he won it, and by the time he graduated high school, he was the outstanding wrestler of the Pennsylvania State Tournament. So that's pretty cool. Whenever you didn't even place as a young kid, mm-hmm. and then you win the state tournament, and then you're the outstanding wrestler, and you got a scholarship to Iowa.
Wow!
So everyone it does. It's really, really unique, and kind of when each kid kind of gets that bug. And
but good. Yeah, I think we lost Kenya. We'll get her back on here. She's on. We got to cut her some slack though. She's on the road. But I wanted to start diving into this, obviously, because with the Olympic stuff coming up, obviously we had Coleman in here, Olympic medalist, stuff like that. But now you currently have somebody on the Olympic team that you're going to watch here in a couple weeks. Actually, no, next week.
1 week from today.
1 week from today. Spencer Lee, the one and only.
Yeah.
What was it like coaching him? I guess take us from when you very first started coaching Spencer, and like how it kind of went from there.
Yeah. So crazy. So Spencer's dad tells this story, mm-hmm. that he called me to be on one of our dual teams. So we had a dual meet roster. And he called and said, "Hey, my son's 80 pounds. My son's 80 pounds, or whatever, 65 pounds."
We're talking about what how everything started with Spencer Lee. Kenya.
This was the first time I met them, and so his dad called me, and he said, "My son's 65 pounds, and I saw that Young Guns is taking some teams to the Virginia Beach duels. Would you have a spot for him?" And I was like, "Well, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry, we don't. I have a kid who comes to club, and we have to go with him, even though your son is really good. He's a state, medalist already as a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, whatever he was young. We have somebody else at that spot already." And he said he hung up the phone that day. He talked to his wife and said, "These are the people I want Spencer around, the rest of his life." So he said, they're loyal people to the people, the kids they train. He could have had someone maybe even, a little bit better, but he's, loyal to the people that he's training. And he's like, so that's how I kind of, I met, or had my first interaction with him by turning him down. And I always say, how, man, was I dumb back then? I turned down Spencer Lee to be on one of our team, but that's kind of how he started clubbing. He said, "You know what, we're going to start coming, and then we'll be a club kid, and then we want to be on the team, the dual teams." And that's kind of how we started. And then it's just obviously grown through the years, and here we are now.
Wow.
1 week away from the Olympics.
I know that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of in and out here with that.
Bad service area.
So there she goes. So now when he starts to progress, I mean, like, when did you start knowing, okay, this kid, he's already good, but when did you start knowing, like, okay, this?
Right away. Yeah. right away.
Just was it work ethic? Was it talent? Everything.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything, and his family. Like
Mhm.
his dad was so good at guiding him and giving him advice
Mhm.
and helping him along the way.
Yeah.
It was just kind of the total package. Super nice people,
Mhm.
work ethic. The pedigree. Again, his mom was a Olympic ultraman for
Yep.
France.
Yep.
His dad was for judo. So they, even though it was a little different sport,
Mhm.
they knew work ethic and the dedication and the sacrifices you make as a family. So,
Mhm.
and then his talent. He's so fast and explosive.
Mhm.
He's so good at picking up new technique.
Mhm.
Just a coach is teaching, and you see a couple kids are picking at their knee or whatever,
Mhm.
and he is just dialed in from a
Wow.
young age, just kind of trying to soak everything in.
Yeah. No, I mean, and he just and he never got off that track. It seems like he's
Oh, yeah.
always kind of just.
And that's the thing I say about Spencer is like, you hear this all the time. Like a kid say, I want to be a state champ.
Mhm.
I want to be an Olympic champ. You hear kids say that all the time. Or
Right.
at least I do as a coach. But then like they get off path.
Mhm.
There's something. And I don't care with Spencer. I don't care if it was an injury.
Mhm.
I don't care because he had some really tough ones. He had some really tough obstacles in his way throughout his career. And he never got derailed. He
Wow.
never got off like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to do this. He always kept kind of track with what he wanted to do. And so that's what I always say about Spencer. He never got derailed. There was bumps, there was like slight detours, and then back on path.
Really?
So
Wow. Because even like I said, I mean, because his injury started as in high school.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, so he lost his very last high school match.
Yeah.
He lost his very last college match.
Mhm.
In both heartbreaking, crazy kind of ways, and got right back on, and here we are.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be. Just incredibly, just mentally strong individual. I mean, just to go over that go through that type of stuff, but then also just kind of retrack and regroup and kind of, especially just now he's growing up in like an age of social media, and everybody's got an opinion on this, everybody's got an opinion on that. Now he's got to block that out, and just just to be able to kind of keep focused and stay on track, and then end up where he's at now, Olympic team.
And I think he has an amazing support system,
Right.
at Iowa and his family.
Yep.
But he is just an incredible person.
Mhm.
Again, he 3-timer,
Mhm.
undefeated, loses his last match to Austin DeSanto.
Yeah.
And he 1 week later, Austin DeSanto was wrestling in Pennsylvania versus USA.
Mhm.
Spencer was hurt with his knee, so he did not wrestle. And Spencer's like on the mat coaching Austin DeSanto.
Really?
Like how many people could do that? Like you lost your biggest match of your life. So
Wow.
and 3-4 days later, you're like not just coaching him. You're like he's like running on the mat, like telling them what to do. Like they're
Wow.
So it was just he's just that kind of person. He like, hey, he lost. It's over. Boom. Like, so it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that about him. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, the Olympic run here, man. Do you guys have any communication as far as like, how he's feeling, how he's everything? Or
his dad calls me every
every now and then.
Yeah, every couple weeks.
Yeah.
He's the one that we got our tickets through and went that route. So, but yeah, he said he's never felt better. He's wrestling, the best he's ever wrestled in his life right now. So, yeah, everything's great. Everything, from the outside at least.
Yeah.
So, and that's all. Obviously, like, I was his coach whenever he was a kid. Like, but now like, I'm his biggest fan. I'm like, my son thinks that he is the best thing ever.
Oh,
he loves Spencer Lee. So we're like
a lot of
like,
kids do. I mean, a lot of kids do.
And it's crazy. Whenever we were growing up, like Spencer and those kids, like my son doesn't realize, like, JoJo's, he's jumping on his back and Spencer carrying him around my house. Like he just thinks he's like one of the guys. He doesn't know, or he didn't maybe know. Now he's getting a little bit older and he understands. But yeah, we'll be his biggest fans ever. We'll be fanboying and just can't wait for it.
That's awesome. So now let's check back to the Young Guns. Obviously, I'm a proud Young Guns owner, affiliate, and everything. But so what's the vision moving forward with the Young Guns?
Yeah, it's so simple. And again, I think it goes back to 21 years ago, like the very first time. And I get that question a lot. Like, did you ever think it would be like it is today? And no, I guess I would never say that. But when I wrestled, I wanted to be the best in the world. Like, just like from the heart, put my heart into every day, work as hard as I could. And it's the same now as coaching. Like, who's going to come to practice today? I don't know. But the kids who do, I will put my heart and soul in everyone. So it's super simple. It's not like there's a plan, like a master plan or anything. Right now, it's just, the club, we have that goes all year long. And then the camps are a little different. We have that. It's really June, July, August.
Yeah.
It's like whoever comes into practice that day, make them better.
Yeah.
And if, I guess if you could give a kid like a magic pill and say like for them that they want to chase greatness, like that they want to get up at 5 a.m. They want to like be the last ones working. Like you would be a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
If you could sell that pill, like that it was inside. And that's kind of what I want to try to do. I try to like put that pill in them, like just to be motivated and just like want to chase greatness.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty simple.
Oh, I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. I think we're going to end with that because right there, I was just about ready to ask Jody his philosophy and kind of moving forward, any type of advice to coaches and kids and athletes, but I think that pretty much wrapped it up right there.
Yeah.
So good stuff. And he's got to get out there to session, and I can kind of chat a little bit more for another minute. And but we got a camp to run, which is a great one anyway. I'm going to put a plug in for our camp here, our Nashville camp. We have what did we end up 170 something? Yeah, 177 kids up from last year. Had Coleman Scott. Of course, Eric and Jody in, Max Mirren, Michael Kemmerer, a bunch of UPJ guys. So it's been awesome.
Luke Becker, NCAA champ, Minnesota.
Luke Becker is in here as well.
Yeah,
we got. Let's see if Kenya's got one more thing here. I think she went through a dead area. Kenya.
Hello, am I
there?
Here?
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna let Jody go here. We just talked the whole Spencer Lee story. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to listen to the rerun. You got any last question?
Yeah.
You got any last questions here for last question here for Jody before he goes back out to session?
Oh, I got a quick one. Sure, I'm not bringing up too bad, but I want to know if you have your outfit picked out for the Olympic finals.
Oh wow. My wife probably does, but I don't. Maybe this one. This is one of my favorites.
Okay, good.
I love Rudis and I love Spencer Lee. So.
Good deal. My man.
There you go.
All right.
We can't wait to see it. We know you'll be there.
Thanks for having me.
You got
appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. All right. Well, he's gonna be out there. He's gonna get the next session started, and we'll wind this down. But tell you what, man, those of you that were listening,
what awesome.
And those
Good job, Pat.
I tell you what, listen.
Yes.
Hey, I just bring good people around me. That's it. Just bring good people around and let them chat, let them talk. You know what I mean? I sat here and just listen to. I tell you, here's the great thing. If you guys don't know Coleman Scott and Jody Strittmatter, those two, I mean, not only were amazing wrestlers and amazing coaches right now. I mean, Coleman Scott's he is a great coach as well. But just, I mean, probably better human beings. And it really, at the end of the day, that's the beauty of getting to know these people, is that they're just really, really great people and just really have not only the athlete but the sport of wrestling in general at heart. So it's awesome. It's awesome being around them.
It is awesome. I'm so grateful we got to get him in on this hectic Thursday that we've got going on.
I know. And now we got to figure out another plan of attack moving forward next week. We have the Olympic that way. Well, next week will be during the Olympics will be going on. So yeah, we'll kind of see.
Yeah, we'll play by ear. We'll figure out.
We'll brainstorm a little bit, and we'll have something up next week. So, without further ado, I got to get back to camp too as well.
Get back to camp.
Kenya's got to continue on a road trip, and we will just watch out for when and where the episode will be next week. And I can guarantee you, next week I will be in a little bit more stable position without any basketballs bouncing around.
I can also guarantee that I'll be in a better position.
Yeah, because I'll actually be in Nashville next week. And then after that, not so much.
Europe? That's okay. We'll figure it out.
I got to go to Colorado Springs for our state leaders meetings the week after next. And then after that, out. Croatia.
All right. Well,
all righty. Good deal. Kenya, thanks for joining from the road. And everybody that's listening in, appreciate you listening in and tuning in. And man, that was awesome having these two
That was
guests on.
awesome. We'll see you guys next week.
Okay, take care, everyone.